Welcome to the Big Down. It's your boy Bobby Hill. Nice to be back with y'all. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're one step closer to whatever you got going on, to your dreams, to your hopes, to your goals, to your whatever you got, as long as it's positive. You know, like I always do. I give a shout out to my wife, Sandra Hill. I always say my rock, my backbone. You got me 100% while I'm doing this, and I have to thank her for allowing me to be able to take this chance and embark on this. With her 100% support. So I always look at it as taking like a leap of faith. Not knowing where I'm gonna land. Excuse me. I talked to give a shout out to my cousin, Chris Hill, his sister Cassandra Hill. They made the trip all the way from Albany, New York to North Carolina, to see family. They're there right now. I had a chance to talk to him this morning, and he told me something. I told him to give him a shout out. Shout out to my man Chris, man. He gave me some, you can get bits and pieces of knowledge from anywhere, from any source. So he told me that, if you don't shoot your shot, you're 100% sure you're gonna miss it. He says 100% or something like that. Yeah, it's 100% chance you're gonna miss your shot if you never shoot it. So yes, I got the message what you're trying to say, man. If you don't never try, you already there's 100% chance you're gonna fail if you never try. So sometimes you don't know where you're gonna end. You don't know where it's gonna lead. Sometimes you just have to have faith, have trust in yourself. Have trust in a higher power, whatever you believe in. Have trust in that. And put in the work and put in the effort and see where it lands. You know, if it meets your expectation and your goal, just great. If you fall short and you're still able to pursue them, just pick yourself up and keep grinding. So it's tough out here. Not everybody's road to prosperity is the same road. People go on different roads. People take different paths. So because your path is not like this next man path, don't mean that your path is less worthy than another person's or make that other person's path more righteous than yours. It's just it's all about the end game, the end goal. You know? So with that being said, last week, my man, he as soon as I got finished my podcast last week, it, Friday, he talked to me about it. He said, "Man, I know you talked about this everywhere," and I really didn't because I'm not that type of person trying to. I didn't want to jump on it. I know everybody will have their opinion. Everybody got something to say, so I just wanted to sit back and get all the information, reaction, how people react, how it's gonna be online, social media. We're just talking to people and stuff. So he's talking about when James got traded to Philadelphia 76ers, which is a big deal, because it don't matter that he is, I think the 20, whatever, 20, however many years he's been in, that he's there because maybe his play isn't what it was in the early 20 teens or stuff like that. His star power is still strong. He moves the needle and he moves ratings. So, I had no problem with Adam Silver delaying the release of the schedule until he lands because he brings eyes because he's a superstar, you know. And you want to, you are a businessman and you're trying to maximize your profits. So, you know, don't make your schedule until you find out where this man lands at, because he gonna bring eyes with him. He has a whole legion of fans with him, and they gonna watch him. So it's a smart thing. I don't have no problem with that. People criticizing this or trying to people criticize Adam Silver, which is stupid, but mainly what people to do what we're doing, like LeBron, what we call them LeBron stands, and they were using that as a barometer to say, look, man, he even at a 40-year-old and in his 20-something year, he still moves the needle and all that. Because he's a superstar. It don't matter. He's superstar. He ain't done nothing to diminish. He's still a superstar. So the fact that that's not surprising. The fact that they will want to see where he goes, being that he's a free agent, to see where he goes to see how they're going to work their Christmas schedule and their schedule where they make the most money or get the most views. So they want to make sure that they have this man up here and to maximize his store power and to maximize their profit, maximize their earning potential. So it's it's a win-win for everybody. So it's not a big deal. There's no reason to hate, no reason anything like that. So I understand that, man. That's a part of the game. But I think personally, me personally, I think she should have been retired. But because what are you trying to prove, man? You chasing. It shows to me that you doing all this, that you are insecure about the fact that you know people consider Michael Jordan the greatest player of all time. There are people that consider LeBron. I mean, there's not as many, but there are people out there. And the fact that he's self-proclaiming the greatest, which is one thing get to itself. Because if you're great, I always felt like if you're great, you don't have to tell nobody. Everybody will tell you. You don't have to get up there and tell nobody that you're great. You don't have to get up there and tell nobody how bad you are. They will tell you all the time. You don't have to say nothing. Just sit back and listen. And as Brand Nubian said in their, hit back in the days, don't let it go to your head. So just I said the fact that, that he thinks that he's chasing, like he said himself, he's chasing the ghost of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's still alive, man. Michael Jordan, the basketball player. Michael Jordan, the great basketball player. He's chasing that ghost. He's chasing the fact that, there's people out there, no matter what he's accomplished, will never hold him to that, never hold him over that. And there's nothing wrong to do to make him, to me, because to make him better than Jordan, because the fact, for me personally, it's because, and this is the same thing I have with Kobe. Even though I didn't like Kobe. I respect Kobe game now that he's gone, more. So when he was like older, I respected him more, but I was never a Kobe fan. I like Shaq. I was never a Kobe fan. But, like I said, there was a level of respect there. But the problem is the Kobe it wasn't Kobe the player, it was the Kobe fans. They were just, oh my God, not all of them. There was some of them just as irritable as Brown fans. Me and my little cousin used to go at it all the time. My little cousin like 8 years younger than me. Shout out to my man, shout out to Linwood Hill. So Linwood Hill Jr., Lil Lance, we used to call him. I mean, he was he loved, oh my God, Kobe, Lakers. Oh, man, we used to go at it all the time, man. He better than Jordan, man. I used to go with him all the time. So, and it was just typical how they were about him. So, but here's the thing that with Kobe and with LeBron, that I think that they would never surpass Jordan to me, because the fact that they quit in games. They quit. They lost the game because they quit. You can never say that about Michael Jordan. Pull it up. If there was a time that someone said they lost the game because of Michael Jordan, because Jordan quit, or Jordan didn't give his effort 100%, if that was the case, it would have been plastered all over social media forever. but you never seen that. Why? Because that's never happened. This man gave 100% every time on the floor. Not because the outcome didn't come out because the Bulls didn't have a good team and they dropped Jordan. That he did the best he could with damn it. It's like you having a 1985 Honda Accord with a busted down motor, and you got to put in here and patch it up and try to run this damn race. And he did the best he could with it, leaking oil. Had a slow leak on the damn tires and everything. He still drug that thing to the playoffs. So even like I said, did the Bulls have great outcomes? No, they lost. They got swept by Milwaukee. They got swept by Boston twice. They finally got past the first round and and then they ran into Detroit, and Detroit knocked them out 3 years in a row. So every year they got better. Every year they got better, and when after the third year, when on paper, they actually really did have a better team than Detroit, but because of what some people try to hold, when people have that saying, no pip, no chip, but they don't understand that, the reason why you can't hold Pippen and Jordan because Pippen, mysterious, like he had a migraine. One of the biggest games at that time, the biggest games of their career was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Detroit, and Pippen came up with a damn migraine, and they lost the game. So and then at that time, a player, due to the knowledge we have now, a player like with the mentality of LeBron James would have left Chicago, go find another team and teamed up and try to beat them. But Jordan didn't do that. He came back, came back again, got them boys back, and they climbed over that hump. And that's what you do as a player, man. You don't have to and then once they got up there, they stayed up there. Yes, Jordan retired, and they had a little bump. Chicago did because they didn't have their leader. But once they got them back, they went right back to the mountaintop. That's where you measure greatness. When you are at your peak, how did you perform at your greatest? So that's why I think that the fact that Jordan never quit. He never quit on the floor. Now people always say, "Oh, he quit because he retired." I mean, the man not too many people have to go through their father being murdered in a brutal way, the way he was murdered. So the way he had to learn, the way he had to mourn was, do something that him and his father wanted him to do was play baseball. So I do not knock him for that. That was the way he mourned his father. And who are we? Who or any of us in this world to tell this man how he should be able to mourn? We shouldn't be able to tell anybody how they mourn. It's the way this man did. It just so happened his was televised and recorded and documented. And he came back. In the end of the season, went in basketball shape, gave it an effort. They still didn't lose. They lost. Yes, did he? Yes, did he have a turnover in the Magic? The one game he had a turnover. He threw the ball away, and Nick Anderson stole the ball. No, but did he give up? No, he didn't give up. Did he make a mistake? Did he make a bad play? Yes, but he didn't give up. That's the difference from quitting. He didn't quit. There ain't something I can say about the other two. Kobe, famously quit, stopped shooting against the Phoenix Suns, man. He was a leader of that team and just quit shooting. I don't care what your damn personal stuff is, man. You out here to do a job. These people out here pay good money to see you play, and you out here and you quit like that. And I just, I can't deal with that, man. As an athlete, I couldn't deal with that. I don't care what kind of problems you have before that damn whistle blows. When that whistle blows, you put all that aside. You got a damn, you got a mission. You got a mission with your team to do something. Same thing about LeBron. One of the most famous ones was when he quit. That's when because when he came into the league, honestly, I was a LeBron guy. I liked LeBron. I liked how he played. I liked, how he got down and everything. He rose into the playoffs and started, having a monster games in the playoffs and doing this thing. I was a fan for him. The reason that I fell off because whenever it was when it was in the playoffs, his first time in Cleveland, I think it was against Boston. One of them, Boston, Detroit, one of Boston, I think. But they were down by I think they were down by 10 points, 8, 10 points, and it was over a minute left. And, I don't care. You ain't got to be Jordan, Kobe, or none of that. Any great player, any so-called great player in period, NBA, you see yourself down by that many points, you still think you got a chance to win. And this was before the, Steph Curry 3-point barrage era and stuff like that. So you still, as a great player, you figure you can bring your team back 10 points, something like that, man. I'm just saying, this wouldn't happen before, you know. See, you seen Tracy McGrady score 13 points, and it means, in how many seconds? You saw Reggie Miller score 8 points in 7 seconds, or whatever the hell it is. So that stuff can be done. With that being said, he, when a minute left, he just got the ball and just walked it out and dribbled it out. Didn't even try to do nothing. And then as soon as because I remember the announcer was saying, "What is wrong with LeBron James?" He just sat there and dribbled the ball out and got finished and took his shirt off and left. Man, that was the damn most bitch ass move I ever seen. Forgive my language, but that's what it was. I never, I don't care how great of accomplishment he done. I never, look past that. As a competitor, I never look past that, man. Can't be the greatest and you acting like he do that. No. I don't care how many points he scored. Now I feel like he just accumulating points. He's he's a compiler. He like to compile points. He looks at his stat sheets and all that. He is trying to compile points, thinking that's going to sway people. I mean, it's good for the record books when you get older, but stuff is on video. Stuff is forever. Like I said, when people like me can mention that stuff, I'll mention about LeBron or Jordan because I feel like people my age, or maybe older, a little bit older, around my age, maybe younger, we the best ones. We're the best ones to properly gauge that because we lived through both of them. A lot of these young people, they say LeBron, they only know Jordan through YouTube clips, and as great as Jordan is on YouTube, that is a fraction of what you felt when you saw it live. So that's one thing the videos can't recapture the moment. They can recapture the crowd. They can recapture, man. You can have your feelings again a little bit, but they don't recapture that exact feeling of that moment, when people saw that or when it was done. So, it's hard to explain some of the younger people the effect things this man had on the world when he played basketball. Almost like Michael Jackson had effect on the world when he sang. I mean, this man was like that, and people were trying to, I don't know. And then, like I said, with LeBron, I feel like, why do you need to? It's something about the mentality of, you're trying to beat everybody. You want to beat these people. Yes, you want to win a title. Yes, you want to do all that winning, man. But you as a competitor, everybody's out here great in the NBA. Everybody's out here playing in the NBA. So, the margin of error is not that big between 1 and 20. So, as a competitor, you want to prove that you're the best. You want to beat these people. You don't want to team up with them and try to get as many as you can and try to run the table and stuff. Nah, man, you want to come in with the team you built and y'all come together and y'all build something and y'all grow together as a team. Man, I'm just not a fan of all the running around and stuff like that. Hell, to the truth, I mean, I'm in any sport. I hate it when I understand free agency. I'm not against it, nothing like that, but I don't know, man. All this jumping around sometimes is as a fan, as a player, I understand. It's about business, man. You're trying to get this money. I understand. You're trying to make a living. you go where the biggest check is. I get that. But as a fan, it's hard. It's hard. I didn't. Shit, I didn't like when Deion jumped around. I hated when he went to went to San Francisco and then went to Dallas and then all that. I mean, you know. But yeah, I don't know, man. And I think that with Philadelphia, people are automatically thinking this is a super team. I think people are really jumping the gun. And the example people need to go by is the year. I forgot the exact year, but when ironically, the Philadelphia Eagles, when they drafted, when they had all the players and they had Vince Young. They had that, at the time, it turned out that he wasn't as great as everybody said he was. From the Raiders, they had that cornerback. Then cornerback, they had Nnamdi Asomugha. So and then they had a few other players. And when they interviewed Vince Young called it the dream team. And that team was on paper. They had all the you know you know, good players. I mean, I guess there was some sort of famous, but when they came together and started playing, that team turned out not to be that good. So just because you get a bunch of players on paper with name recognition together, does not mean that you know instant results. I mean, this is not Miami. This is not prime LeBron and prime D Wade coming together. So don't get me wrong, they can be good, but it won't be because it won't be focused on LeBron James. If they're gonna be good, they better not focus on him. He better be like the third option. If he's the number one option on the team, they will not make the playoffs. Period. If he's the number one option, I will go out on the limb to say that. It's proven with the Lakers. It's been proven over the past few years. You cannot win now. You cannot. Hell, I think the last gasp was when they went to the Western Conference Finals, and then they lost. They got swept. But it's proven you cannot. In the days of him being the number one option, then when the title is that day's been over with. They're not going to get any better. You do not get better with age. No. And I just don't see that team. Honestly, hell, beat the Knicks. You still got to go through New York. I'm not even a Knicks fan, but you got to go. They're the champs. I don't even think they're gonna beat them. Hell, my man, the guy, the guy that hurt his foot for Indiana, he's coming back, and so you better watch out for Indiana. So I forgot. God, I forgot my man's name. Halliburton, Tyrese Halliburton. Yes, that's him. Tyrese Halliburton. Yes, he hurt his damn foot. He was out all last year, I think. So yeah, watch out for Indiana. They went to the finals 2 years ago, so watch out for them. So it's going to be interesting here in the NBA. It's going to be interesting. So I'm not sitting up here thinking that, oh my God, LeBron to Philly, it's over with. No, so no, 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 no. And here's one thing I like is a plus or minus. Plus minus 80 games total between Joel Embiid and LeBron James playing next season. Combined, 80 games. Over or under. 80 games. Do you see both of them playing 40 games apiece? Or some form of that? I don't. I do not, because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't see it. I just don't see. I think this is like, you know, I just think it's a rush because they have been starving so long because they have been going through this so-called process for how many years? And they trusted this process. This process has gotten them nowhere. But a bunch of high price players and low price results. And that's the fact. They had all the number one picks. They had what they have. They had Markel Fultz. Didn't work out. You got Ben Simmons flamed out. Forgot how to shoot. Well, then I guess he never knew how to damn shoot. And became scared to shoot. Scared to dunk. You 6'10" and scared to dunk. Who the hell? Yeah, get the hell on. Go ahead with that, man. Get on with that. Had Joel Embiid. He sort of worked out, but hell, he like walking tissue paper, man. He just gets hurt all the damn time. He ain't one for damn. When he up there, don't get me wrong, man. He's skilled to be big, but he's slow and he looks goofy and he's damn fragile, man. I'm telling you, man, he like damn tissue paper, man. Out there, So he's sort of okay, So they have trusted this process for so long. They try to bring in high price free agency. They brought in James Harden, stuff, and nothing has panned out. They haven't even sniffed the conference finals or anything. The closest. Well, don't get me wrong. No, they did one time. One time, their heart got broke by Kawhi Leonard, but that's the spirit. That's competition right there. You lost, but they have been starved for any results from that process. That they just. I feel like they grasping their straws right now. They had a little success in the playoffs, and they figured they'd throw, Jaylen Brown or LeBron James in. It's going to push them over the top, man. I don't know. I don't know, man, because chemistry is a big thing. As you see, as we just saw in the finals, man, chemistry is a big thing, man. You need that chemistry, man. Y'all got to have that camaraderie and stuff. And don't think they're going to sit up here and just all of a sudden win 60 games. I don't see that. No. They'll be lucky if to me, they'll be lucky to win 50 games. 50, somewhere in the low 50s. They should take that as a good season. They in the low 50s. That's what I think they'll do. But hopefully LeBron get hurt. I'm saying, man, because hopefully don't get hurt, man. Because as much as I feel, I don't hate LeBron. I don't hate him. First of all, I hate no black man in this country making money. We got enough struggle. So, you find a way to get this paper. As long as you're not here selling out your own people, selling out your own people, you got love for you. But I don't hate LeBron. I don't think he's better than Michael Jordan. I hate him as a basketball player. No. He's a great basketball player. He's damn one of the greatest ever. Just because someone say you're not better than Jordan, don't mean that's an insult, man. For real. I don't think he is. I just don't think he is. I don't think he's great at anything. I think he's good at a lot of things. He's having to be 6'9", 250. He's not a great dribbler. He's not a great shooter. I always felt like his greatest attribute was he was either bigger, stronger, or faster than the person that's guarding him. I always felt like that was his mojo. If someone was quicker than him, 9 times out of 10, they were smaller than him. So he can overpower them. And a lot of times the person was taller than him and bigger than him, they were slower than him, so he could just go around it. So yes, he did. Yeah. Like I said, that's how I feel about his game. I feel like, they compare. I feel like he shot a lot. I feel like he shot a lot of threes. I feel like he never played his true position. I feel like if he patterned his game after Charles Barkley when he went to Phoenix, how he played low post and they put the offense through him, and he made all his decisions through the low post. I think now that would have been an argument, but he never played this. I think he might have played his game like that sparingly when they won their first title. Miami. I think he started playing post a little bit, and then they won. But then he started complaining, saying, "Man, I make my money outside." He didn't like that. He didn't like banging with them big boys, So, But like I said, he's still great. He's great. He's great. Like I said, he's gonna move the needle. People are gonna watch him when he plays. They're gonna talk about him. People are gonna compare him. His stands are gonna gonna say he the greatest again. Every time he score a point, you're gonna hear him say 50,000 points, 10,000 assists, 10,000 rebounds. Oh, man, whatever. Then the detractors gonna be talking junk about him and stuff. And the same thing, they're gonna bring up Jordan. It's gonna go all over again. Just like it is every year, So it's just endless, 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 So, but I'll say there's nothing he can do to change my mind about his greatness. He is what he is to me. I feel like he's chasing a ghost. He's a compiler. All the numbers mean nothing because Emmitt Smith is the all-time leading rusher. But if you ask people who the greatest running back outside of Dallas, you might hear Barry Sanders, you might hear Walter Payton, you might hear Jim Brown. Neither one of them have at the time, Jim Brown was an all-time leading rusher at one time. So that was, and then you got people who say O.J. Simpson. So because the numbers don't, because you have career numbers don't make you the greatest. A lot of people don't have Frank Gore as one of the all-time greatest running backs. They have him as a durable running back, longevity, but people have their top 5 or top 10 running backs. Frank Gore do not go on a lot of people, especially if they have no ties to the University of Miami. Definitely in the top 10. So, like I said, numbers don't, compiling numbers don't mean anything. Compiling numbers do not mean anything. It's like what you do. Are you winning? Are you winning? Are you performing? When the moments is big, when the moments are big, what are you doing? When the moments, when the palms get sweaty, damn butt clenched up because you're nervous and stuff like that. How do you perform then? That's what measures greatness. And I feel like Michael Jordan has always lived up to the greatness. Whether his team won or not, that don't mean that his greatness was not displayed. Even in losing efforts, he has displayed greatness, and they have never lost a game because of him. Because they lost the game because their team wasn't good enough, not because Michael Jordan wasn't good enough. Can't say the same thing about LeBron James. He's came up short in the finals. On several occasions. He don't. And at the same time, he's had some of the greatest moments of all time in the finals. But at times, he's come up short in the fourth quarter and finals and stuff. And you're supposed to be the number one guy. That's the time you don't supposed to, name time and great ones. Name Kobe. Kobe a little bit, but Jordan. When can you have time in the finals where them boys came up short like that? Don't shoot. No field goals, fourth quarter, time to win the game, and you disappearing, stuff like that, man. You can't live that stuff down, and people are like that stuff don't exist, but it does. And just like when people say Jordan not winning, not beating Larry Bird, that's true. Larry Bird beat him all the time, and that's a stain on his damn. That's a stain. He could never beat Larry Bird, not in the playoffs when it counted. That's true. He won, every year. He won. He got swept the first 3. I think the first 3 years he got swept in the first round. Yes, he was a 3rd round pick, which means he was a number 3 pick, which means he went to a butt team. His team was straight booty, cocaine and booty. That's what his team was. But that man stayed. It would have been easy for him to play out his rookie contract or demanded the trade. He stayed there and built something. He stayed there and built that and built a dynasty, a legacy. He didn't go run to LA with Magic. He didn't go run somewhere with damn Charles Barkley. He didn't ask Charles to come with him when Shaq was a free agent. He didn't want begging, hey Shaq, man, come play with me. Nah, the people who roll with him, that's who he roll with. That's how you get down. You don't, So I don't know. Like I said, that running the people, playing with people instead of sitting here building something on your own, man. To me, that takes away from it. I don't care. People say about Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen is a all-time great. I always question was he one of the 50th great. Now I still question now whether he's one of the 50th greatest. Maybe 75, but top 50, I don't know. But what I'm saying is like, yes, Scottie Pippen turned out to be Scottie Pippen was great because he played with Michael Jordan. Period. They can say, well, Jordan never won without Pippen, which is true. He didn't win a series like that. But when Jordan won his series, it wasn't because of Scottie Pippen was there. Because look at the numbers Scottie Pippen had. He didn't average double figures in anything. Jordan averaging 40. He averaging 6. Don't tell me this man was the reason why he won. Man, y'all sound stupid. If he wasn't there, you don't know. All you see is, whatever. You get those numbers right there. If he wasn't there, the numbers are ring hollow if he wasn't there. So I'm saying, you know, I always tell people that I always say that Scottie Pippen is, the reason why Jordan won or whatever. All I ask people is this: other than the dunk, you can bring up the dunk on Patrick Ewing in '94. You can bring that up. That was a great dunk. That was in your face. I love it. I love stuff like that. But other than that, name me a Scottie Pippen moment. The only other moment I can think of was when they did them blocks, when they did that um, the Charles Smith stop in Game 5. No, that's all right. Yes, the Charles Smith stop in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 1993 in New York. That's the only other time I seen like a Scottie Pippen moment, but that was a group moment. It wasn't Scottie Pippen. Like someone like they say that it turned out to be food poisoning, but the flu game for Michael Jordan should have been the damn Scottie Pippen game. Where was he at? In the famous game at the end, again, Game 6 in Utah, when Jordan hit the shot, which we thought was his final career shot at the time. What was Scottie Pippen? Jordan hit 45 points. Pippen was his back was hurting. So don't give me this thing in the playoffs and stuff. Yes, Pippen them put up some assist numbers and them put all this stuff up, but who the reason why they won? All the playoff games. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So, like I said, I don't watch LeBron. LeBron had great playoff moments. You know, to me personally, LeBron playoff moments, the top ones for me are, the chase down block is great. I can't even front on that. I'm never gonna front on that. I saw that. I was rooting for Golden State. He had that block. I was mad. Oh, I was mad at Eagle Dolphin. How the hell you gonna be competing in a damn dunk contest and you heard shoot some old flaky layup, man? That was oh my god, I was more mad at Golden State, man. That was a great play by LeBron James when he hit that block. That was yes, I got to give him that. No, said I'm a realist and I game recognize game. So I'll give him that. That and the next one is not even the next one was I think it was Game 6 in Boston with the Heat. I saw that game from beginning to end. LeBron James took that game, and that 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 was to me that was the best I was seeing play right there, and that stays off him like possibly if they lose that game, they possibly break that damn team up, and he stayed off that with that performance, and that's one of the greatest. Yeah, so those are my top two for LeBron. So like I said, even though I don't think he's better than Jordan, I'm not gonna sit up there and say that he's not great. He hasn't done great things because he has, but to me, he's just not better than Jordan. And I think he should have retired. And I think all this is just crazy, man. Him just chasing that ghost that he's never gonna get to. So, well, all this makes for a great NBA season to come, and I'm looking forward to it. But now that got that out the way, next week we talk about sports. It's gonna be straight football. We talking about football. I'm down in cowboy country, and so, you know, it might be interesting this year. No idea. They start out 2, 3, 4. It's gonna be crazy around here. I'm gonna let you know, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'd like to thank y'all for being here with me today. And, feel like my throat is a little voice a little weak today, but sorry about that. But hopefully I do better. I'll be back tomorrow. We talk about this. Like I said, I got my format. So tomorrow we're gonna come with relationships and health and stuff. So we're trying to be multifaceted. And show you that we can come at life on a different different angles and stuff. Sports, health, entertainment, relationships. Just in this basic overall just knowledge, man. Just talk about just things in life, man. Things that good things in life. Things might inspire you and stuff. Things that might inspire me. Things that might just need to be talked about at the moment, man. We want to be able to do all that. And still maintain our integrity, maintain our stride, and just keep it moving, man. That's all we're trying to do. All I'm trying to do is just and keep y'all informed. Try to entertain you a little bit. Hopefully, I'll make you laugh a little bit. Hopefully, just you'll come back the next time. Hopefully, I won't run you away. That's the most important thing. Don't go nowhere. For real. But with that being said, y'all got the about to be out of here, and I like to appreciate y'all for being here with me today. You know, I love all of y'all, and like I said, we're gonna do this again tomorrow. I always say, kiss your kids, kiss your loved ones. Tell them you love them, tell them how you feel. Don't take it for granted because you never know. It might be the last time. I love y'all. Y'all have a great evening. Buenas noches. I will see y'all tomorrow.